I made it in.
Yes, we are live.
It's the bottom right button. It says enter back, enter. Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining to a new live session. It seems that all of us succeeded and we are here live today. Today, I'm thrilled to share this live session with three amazing people who have my respect and admiration. Remy Lebovic,
Yes.
Fractional Social Media Director for B2B, Malena Roche, Senior Strategist and Insights Consultant, and Gemma Persello, Senior Social Media Strategist at Magnetic Creative. We are going to talk about AI social media analysis. Our plan is to give you the right answers to questions like how social leaders really look when they're reading social media analytics data, how to prepare and on how to prepare your reports and on how to focus on the right metrics and the metrics that matter to for the business you are working, where AI already speed up the reporting process and how can we improve this, frameworks for presenting social media data to executive and boards, and discussing about the future of AI analytics, what next, what skills we should develop, and so on. But before starting, I would like to share some logistics with you. We'll stay around 45 minutes. The framework for this live session is a panel discussion. We'll keep it casual, interactive. If you have questions, you can use the Q&A chat from Zoom, from right here. So, hi everyone, welcome. How are you? How are you, Gemma, Remy, and Malena?
Great, thanks.
I'm
Very
feeling
excited
great.
the session going.
Good, thank you for having me.
Great. So let's get started with the first question. As social media leaders, when you look at analytics, what's the first thing you want to understand the data? What's the first things you want to understand from the data? So, Gemma.
Great. So I think for me, it's to find the outliers. So what is performing above average, what's below average, then to try and sort of spot some patterns in that and figure out why. For example, one post might particularly go viral, and that's because you might have tapped into a specific meme at that time and that trend, which we didn't necessarily plan for. But then on the other hand, maybe you find over a few months, we notice that recipe videos on Instagram have the most impact. So it's both sort of finding those spikes in a short period and a longer period to help us sort of replicate that for the success.
So we have spikes and we have trends and patterns that you can see in the data. Would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, I guess just excited to see how we can sort of fit AI into that so that it's less of you having to manually go and review that, but more sort of a dashboard that sends you sort of alerts when those benchmarks have then been hit or above the benchmarks have been hit.
Okay. Let's move the discussion and talking about challenges with analytics. What are the biggest challenges you faced when trying to extract insights from the social media data? Remy?
So one of the biggest challenges that we face is that right now some of our clients are utilizing Sprout, some of our clients are utilizing, Buffer and Later. And the biggest challenge for our team with data analytics is trying to understand the full scope and story. So my clients are primarily in the B2B world. They're businesses that offer services to other businesses, mostly in commercial real estate, right? So they're all kind of playing in this industry. And I think that what I want the analytics and the data to tell me is what is going on within this niche, within this corner of the world, from, whatever social platform that we're using to schedule out things. How can we compile everything to kind of not just get the story and the background of that client, but to understand what it's trying to tell us across all of our clients. So to kind of have something come in and show us an overall picture, because we have an idea, but I think data, like hard data, would definitely be the confirmation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I can confirm that um, from what I heard from the customers that are using Social Insider is that they don't know how to translate the data that they see in actual business, how to correlate the data to the business overall. So I think all of us are reading comments and posts on LinkedIn every day about how to prove this ROI, the social media ROI, or how to translate the engagement that you get from different posts to sales or leads or so on. And I think these challenges are common, and most of the social media people are frustrated by this and are challenged by this. And I think it requires a lot of education, and how can we transform engagement, and how can we educate the upper management what engagement really means. And I can share a story that we have, and I noticed in the last year for the Social Insider LinkedIn page, I noticed that if we have people that engage multiple times with us on our LinkedIn page, months later or even years later, they become clients for Social Insider. So at that point, when I reported that number of engagement, maybe couldn't be translated to the sales director, but months later or years later, that first engagement can be attributed to customers or to sales. So it's important to educate the upper management that having repeated engagement with our target audience might generate sales later. So our focus it should be on how can we have repeated engagement, how can we keep our audience engaged on social media.
I think this is actually such an interesting topic for me, because the agency I work for, we mainly focus on CPG brands, and the most of the purchasing happens in stores and mass retailers. So it doesn't happen over our brand's website. So those traditional sort of business outcomes of sales, traffic and leads, that's not what we're focusing on. It's more getting the consumers in store. So that definitely brings more a sort of focus to those more awareness metrics and affinity metrics. And recently I've really sort of dived into which metrics are more important. And to me, definitely saves and shares and sentiment shifts are the main sort of metrics I'm looking at, to make sure that those are always staying above average than what our impressions and maybe the total engagements are. And also what sort of sparks more conversations around the brand and the product. I think there's no better sort of example than sharing with the team a comment that the consumer actually purchased the product, and they purchased it because of social media. That there's no better feeling than that comment coming through.
Yeah. And I think these insights lead us to the next question, which is how do you balance looking at vanity metrics versus focusing on metrics that drive business outcomes? So, Malena, if you want to add something here.
Yeah, I think what Gemma just said is something I was thinking about. I think a lot of the times there's a lot of focus on things like likes and comments, but I think shares are so important, saves as well, but particularly shares, because if you look at the last Instagram algorithm, they themselves said that to get ranked higher, the main metric that they look at is shares actually. But obviously sometimes if you're working with someone who is not a social media expert, so a stakeholder from like a different department, and that they might still be quite wed to more traditional metrics like likes or comments or even followers. So I think sometimes it's kind of like a little bit of a compromise of giving them what they want, but making sure that there's space for those metrics that you as the expert thinks are important. For example, I care a lot more about having an audience that's engaged, even if it's small, than a big audience that's not engaged.
Yeah, so I think I know that the upper management want to see metrics like engagement, followers growth, or likes and comments, but the story should bring the context. So these are the numbers, these are the vanity metrics, maybe not mentioning vanity when reporting, but these are the metrics that maybe for the upper management is important, and I totally understand why. Why it's important to report followers growth for the upper management, because they want to know what's the total addressable market for that brand, and they want to know that what's the budget that I have to invest to obtain or to gain to reach out more people from my total addressable market. So that's why metrics like followers growth, reach, it's important for the upper management, because when they have to set up the budget, they will need this kind of information. But I think it's once we put in our reports these numbers, it's also important to add the story. So, okay, we have this in terms of followers growth, but look at how many people actually save our content and how many people actually share our content, and how many people actually engage with our outbound comments, for example. For what we did and we noticed this year at Social Insider was that we gain more followers from the outbound engagement compared with inbound engagement. So going and targeting our ICP on LinkedIn, for example, and engaging with them later generated followers for the page. Okay, there are some questions. How can I attribute the followers growth to that specific action? But I extrapolated this idea from the followers growth rate we had in the past. So once we started to actively engage with our ICP on LinkedIn and commenting to their post, we noticed that the followers growth rate was higher. So this action led us to think that we should continue this action. So we have here the first question is, how can we ensure we communicate metrics to a less social-friendly audience, let's say executive or senior leadership, especially when they focus on followers? On how can we compare to other industry competitors to show them that any benchmark on the internet is not the right way, or it is?
I
Yeah,
have
Amy?
I actually have a case study from this. So one of my clients is a commercial cleaning company. They're across 5 different states on the East Coast of the United States, and they're growing. And so with that growth comes, scaling with hiring new talent. And they were actually able to get a new COO because of our LinkedIn presence and because what me and my team have been doing for them. Because this COO, his name's Dino, he's like, I've been in this industry for 30 years. And even the past 10 years, people are not doing what this company that I'm joining has been doing marketing wise. So that interests me. So the posts on LinkedIn from the business page that, they don't get a lot of engagement, but they do get a lot of impressions. And now they're getting a lot more engagement since he's joined from employees. He basically was able to validate us as an expense to, the owner and say, listen, like, this attracted me. It's going to attract new clients. And the most important thing as well is that can, drive to push, especially in a newer space like B2B in this very services-based industry, is, you know, your competition is doing it already. You're seeing your competition already adapting these new techniques, whether it be, you know, a video with all this B-roll and flashy edits, or a new carousels with new fancier graphics, right? All of that is coming. So when you can justify a win to an executive, when you can justify a win to a owner that leads directly to ROI, that is great. And most of them are still word of mouth, right? So it brings the question of, it's very simple, but how did you find us? And why are you working with us? Especially in B2B, where sales can take anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. But we've been seeing, there was a Jolt study done earlier this year on this, about that instead of 6 to 18 months, brands and companies that have social media presences that are active and engaged can actually lessen their sales time down to 3 to 6 months, because it's about staying at the top of that feed and staying relevant. And if you're able to coordinate that to a closed deal, new client, a new client retention, or new talent coming on, you're validating yourself, and the data can definitely reflect that as well.
And then
Yeah.
just to add to that, I think it's meeting executives where they are. So trying to use the same language that they're using and connect that to the language we have on social. For example, just as we have impressions, they might see that as awareness. So bringing those two together is the same thing. We see follower growth, they might see community development. Those, again, this two of the same things. We see sentiment, they might see brand health. So again, sort of meeting them where they are. So we're showing these metrics that make it understandable for their own objectives and goals.
I think also sometimes it's combining sources. Like I recently did a project for membership organization, and I was able to show them that spikes in followers correlated to spikes in new members. So
Yes.
that was something that ties directly to ROI. So that was like very exciting to be able to find that correlation.
Yeah, we have we use the same example as you, Remy. So every customer that subscribe to Social Insider, we ask them how did you heard about us, and 10% of them are saying that social media was sort of the main channel, the top of mind channel for them. I know that there are multiple touch points before actually subscribe to Social Insider, but keeping this percent month over month, it's kind of it is kind of insights for me that they are looking at this channel. So social media is important, and if you, as you said, if you succeed at correlating and showing some impact in the sales leads or to the business overall, you will have their budget and you will have their input to sustain your projects on social media. And regarding how can we compare to the other industry competitors to show them that any benchmark on the internet is not the right way, I think it's also valuable to compare with your industry or with your direct competitors, even if you want to learn from them or if you want to compare to see where you stand against them. Or maybe you can if also you can add the indirect competitors, tools that or businesses that are related to your businesses, and see how they are winning on social, and you can learn from those learnings and try to apply to your ICP as well. So I think it's important to keep an eye also on the industry level as well. So I think we should move to discuss about the role of AI. And I know that this is kind of a hot topic these days. Everyone wants to know how can we integrate AI or how can we use AI in the context of social media. And my first question is, where do you see AI making the big difference in speeding up your data analysis workflow today? Malena?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think I'm very excited to hear also what Remy and Gemma have to say, because I feel like everyone's just using it in different ways and experimenting a lot. I personally found it really, really useful within social listening, particularly like within sentiment analysis and content. So it's been saving me a lot of time. I never really rely on the sentiment from the platforms that collect the data. I don't find it very accurate. So often what I would do is like I would get a sample that I would, do an Excel and export to a sample, randomize the sample, code that sample. And then I would use that as the sentiment. What I'm able to do now is download that, feed it to ChatGPT, and ask it to code it for me. And what's great about it is that it seems to do something that most platforms don't do, which is aspect-based sentiment analysis, which means that if I have a sentence like I don't like wearing athleisure, but I like Adidas Farm Rio. Normally, because it says I don't like, it will be tagged as negative. But I can tell ChatGPT where to focus on, what the aspect is. So then it would tag it as negative if it's about athleisure, but as positive if it's about Farm Rio. And that's something that I was always having to do manually for those more complex type of sentences. And now I'm able to do it on ChatGPT. It saves me tons of time. And then I obviously always double checking. So then after it's done, I'll make it give me examples for negative, for positive. And then if it needs tweak, then I'll teach it like where it got something wrong. And then even with back and forth, it's still much faster than me manually doing a sentiment tagging framework.
Mm-hmm. Remy?
So how I've integrated AI. So I just want to say out there to everyone watching, AI is a tool. It's not going to replace you. And I feel that a lot of companies right now are learning that. We need to, as much as we want to integrate it into our tech stack, especially when we're dealing with these larger kind of companies, there's a cybersecurity element to it. There is a private information element to it. I used to work in internal comms when I was in corporate. And right now, how we use AI is all already pre-approved external copy. We cannot use it for, because think about it, it's just a data box. Like it's just a text box that we're entering in everything, right? So when I'm working with my clientele, a lot of the stuff can be private if not already pre-approved. So everyone that's kind of panicking, being like, are we going to lose our positions? No. I encourage you guys to use it as a tool that just add it to your tool stack. Notion is great for customer surveys. Otter AI is great for summary analysis of meetings. Canva is great for editing. And that's something that we're really using in my company is we're using AI to cut down on editing times for content because we have all these clients. They all need reels done. They all need, flashy content, educational content to meet all of their criteria. And our team has been using Filmora, Opus AI, Canva's built-in AI to just speed things up. So editing a reel used to take maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. It was something really high end. Now it takes maybe an hour.
Yeah.
And that's with all of the assets that were done from the photo shoot or the video shoot. So I really encourage everybody to move it into a tool, and these are all tools. And if you know how to use them and you know how to leverage them, that just makes you and your team more valuable because I see, at least in the US, that companies are pausing on, elimination to replace just because of the cybersecurity threat risk.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
Gemma, do you have any use case of using AI for data analysis?
Yeah, I think both Melania and Remy have shared great examples. And Remy, I love your list of exactly which tools you guys have been using. So I think everything has been covered. But a really simple example that I pretty much use every day, it's kind of embarrassing, is a quick sort of calculation on ChatGPT of like the percentage change between metrics. I find so often all of these sort of reporting tools don't always highlight that. Or they're highlighted for the specific month to month, but sometimes you're wanting it a little bit more specific. So just simple calculations, quickly jumping over, or even creating tables and charts that look a bit better than the ones that the tools are creating. But yeah, this is really why I'm so excited to have these conversations, and yeah, also excited to hear from the audience if they also have some recommendations.
Yeah, so if you have use cases that where you use or integrated AI into your workflow, we'd love to learn from you. I can share a use case as well. So I had to present some data for a conference that I was invited, and I had to do some regional analysis on the messages that brands are using for that specific region. So at that time, we didn't had this integrated into Social Insider. So what I did was to export 2 years of data, of post data, and to upload them to ChatGPT and guide it and train it to give me the content pillars for those specific industries. So I had to analyze up to 10 industries. So I downloaded a lot of social media posts. That analysis was made only for Facebook and Instagram, and then which made the analysis a little bit easier. So I downloaded and extracted the content pillars for those industries, which was I couldn't do this before AI, because doing manually across multiple industries is quite hard. And that use case actually became a feature in Social Insider. So for every profile you would like to analyze, you can get industry insights and how many posts that specific brand are covering from that specific content pillars. So think this way as well. So it's a useful tool for analyzing volume of data and extracting insights that before AI was quite difficult to understand. For example, I don't know, if you have to do a report or industry report for banking for your region, you can use this workflow to analyze the data. So someone from the audience said that he loves using Claude for my templates and guides. I integrate it with Notion and it's done in 10 minutes. It does it all for me. Yeah. So before having this feature, I had the same workflow. I had a custom custom GPT, and already trained on what kind of content pillars I would like to get. Okay, the next question is, and you, Malena, already shared some insights with us regarding how do you ensure that AI analyses are accurate and aligned with business goals? And you, Malena, already said that when you notice that the sentiment analysis is not quite accurate in terms of identifying the right sentiment, you trained the chat to bring more context to that specific.
Yeah. And I think it works really well with, because Adina, you were talking about content. I think it works really good if you're analyzing also sometimes content pillars, and like the content pillars are going to be the same throughout, say, a year, but you want to look into how that evolves. You can also train it to be like, oh, my content pillars are, I don't know, say I'm analyzing trailers for a film studio. My content pillars are actors, soundtrack, fan base, etc. And then I can train it, giving it examples of each category. And then when I feed it the content, it'll already be able to categorize it for me and even do like a percentage breakdown. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's just like what you were saying, like how it's important to make sure it's accurate. You can just
Yeah.
trust it if it just says, oh, 40% of the comments were about the soundtrack. So then you have to be like, oh, like, can you give me like 20 of them and, you know, make sure that they are actually all about the soundtrack. And it's not that they mention the soundtrack, but maybe the central thing is not that. So I think, I guess, don't trust it. Don't trust it and always like second guess it and interrogate it, and because it learns, right? So that the more you do that, the more accurate it's going to be next time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same sort of thing. I'm kind of expected to make a mistake so that you're not shocked because it probably will. And think of it kind of like as a helpful assistant. I always try and like double check with obviously my experience or past campaigns or team discussions, and give it that information so that it knows about that, so that it can actually learn from it for the next task.
Yeah. So basically, we should train the ChatGPT or the AI tool that we're using, and always have a backup, somehow a backup data that we should look at, because I know from experience, we have an AI executive summary. So once you add the profile into the dashboard, you get with bullet points some insights for that specific profile. So sometimes it happens, some numbers might differ from what you have in dashboard, but you have the option to scroll down and verify if what you see in that specific executive summary, which is trained with AI, includes the right numbers with what we have in your dashboard. So you can choose to use AI Executive from Social Insider. You can choose to use ChatGPT. Always make sure that you have a table with the numbers that you look at, and make sure that your AI tool gives you the right numbers. And ask for examples. I think this is a great example, Malena. Always, even if he gives you some categories, some content teams, ask to give you some examples with posts from that specific category, just to make sure that it's it's on the right path. Let's move a little bit about leadership and context, and how do you communicate data insights upwards to executive or board members who are not close to social media?
I think that Gemma's statement earlier, where she said that we have to use their terminology for our terminology and translate that, because I will be honest with all of you, I am so over acronyms. I'm over ECG, UCG. Like, these are a bunch of really cool words that don't make any sense to anyone else. And I think that, you know, have ChatGPT write up a drafted thing for an executive. If you've trained your client, like our ChatGPT has been trained on each one of our clients, so they know who we're talking to and what we're talking about. But I think that the first step is to bring our data and what it means to them in their language. I think Gemma definitely highlighted that earlier in the conversation.
Thanks, Remy. I think another thing that's really important is to focus on the story behind the numbers. So, for example, say we're reporting 50,000 engagements. Let's then take that metric and break it down a little bit further. So 80% of those comments from those engagements were product related. I think that'll make any executive's heart start pumping. And then even with that, from those 80% of comments that were product related, 90% of them were positive. So again, you're sort of showing that that flow of metrics and what it actually means. It's not just a number, it's directly linked to your product and the positive conversations that our consumers are having about the product. And like I mentioned again, literally showing them examples of comments and the buyer personas, their profiles, just showing that link that it actually is real people. It's not just random people over the internet.
I think also, like Gemma, you said earlier, like something like percentage change. I think sometimes numbers on their own can be like very confusing. So saying something like, oh, this post had 800,000 impressions. It might be hard for someone that's not in the world of social media to be like, is that a lot? Is that not a lot? Should we have done better? So I love comparing it to something like, be like you said, the percentage change from the previous quarter, or a post that did very well this quarter from a competitor. So I like to always put those numbers in perspective. I feel like when specifically presenting to someone from a different team, that's like really, really useful.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and engagement, it mean as a metric, it's just a number. But when you split that engagement and report them as engagement for customer support, engagement for product, engagement for, I don't know, the event that we just finished, for some, let's say about something about our employees, it means something else that just showing just that, putting there just the number. So it's important to look a little bit, to dive in what that engagement means, what kind of comments my brand is getting, is gaining on social media, because it's quite a difference, an engagement like, just a emoji or a comment with three keywords, compare it with someone who explain what they like or what they dislike about your product, or how they enjoy their experience in the store, comparing with, I don't know, experience that they had with other store, or with a competitive, with one of the competitors. So it's important to bring more context, not just highlighting the numbers in that report. So more context will educate them, will help them understand that social is important and actually drive business results it drives business results. And if you have, I don't know, if you have to move to the someone if we have to move to the dream zone, and thinking about the future, what excites you most about the future of AI in social analytics?
I'll go. I think the thing that excites me the most about the future with social analytics is that now we will finally, especially when I first started my business, we were working only with B2C, and they really did not understand how social media ads or all this other kind of stuff would translate into business. And still to this day, when I network with people, they're like, "You mean pay for click?" And I'm like, "No." And Google ads and all that fun stuff. And I think that now, no matter, I want to be able to go to a prospective client's page, put in their Instagram URL, their LinkedIn URL, whatever social URLs that they have, and I want to be able to run a full diagnostic report compared back to their websites. And if possible, I would want to have some CRM data in there as well, because the sales team would definitely have to be roped into that. And I want to be able to showcase the whole funnel, the whole journey to that client, and just be like, it's weak here, 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 and here, and this is how we can help. And I think that that's what's definitely coming up soon in the future with AI and data analytics for social.
Yeah, have a streamlined customer journey from day one to after they decide to cancel the subscription or cancel the services. So yeah.
I think it's also, for me, I think a lot of the advantages I hope with AI is that we'll get to do more of the fun work, the strategic work, like the creative work, the thinking, and it'll take care of a lot of this like very time consuming tasks like tagging and stuff. I feel like a lot of the social media management tools, they're still not great with the tagging, like there's still a lot of manual tagging processes. So I just look forward to the day where you can give very, very specific instructions for tagging and it'll just do it for you. And then you're like, okay, the data is already segmented the way I want it. Now I can do the job of looking at it, finding those patterns, finding that narrative, doing the thinking, and not having to spend ages, preparing the data or cleaning the data. So that's something that I'm quite excited about.
Yeah,
future.
and then just to add to that, I think predictive insights excites me the most. So imagine AI sort of spotting a trend before it hits its peak, so that you can plan content real time to actually post within that trending period or before it's even gone viral. I think this would be groundbreaking for all social media managers, and I don't think it'll be available to everyone, but those that can have it would be amazing. Yeah, I think that would change definitely content creation on that content creation side. I'm just imagining like if TikTok, CapCut, all of the tools where the trends are normally sort of started, if they could all come together and sort of create a tool that would be able to show you those trends in real time. So that social media managers like ourselves would be able to hop on them without sort of scrolling endlessly on our own feeds to find them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm too chronically online. It's like,
Yeah.
what social listening tool do you use? I was like, me. It's me. Hi.
That's so true, because I feel like the social listening tools haven't really got to the right point with that yet. Definitely sort of showing spikes in sort of words and things, but not necessarily those niche trends within your space.
yeah, because most of them are missing TikTok data, and TikTok is kind of a gated platform. You cannot have access to their API, so that's why it's quite difficult for the social listening tools to give you somehow trends or stuff like this. So actually, we have this question: what are the best social listening tools platform to get rich data for AI to analyze? Do you use
Sprout
any?
has given me the best.
Yeah.
I think any, because at the end of the day, you're going to give it an Excel file and export. So I think anything that allows you to export something, it's going to like be your best friend, basically. Anything that allows you to do like off-platform analysis.
The only reason I said Sprout is because my clients that were using like the Meta Business Suite, where they were just scheduling things out off the cuff, I feel that the Meta Business Suite, when you're using it, like why is everyone's best time to post 7 o'clock at night for all clients across the whole thing? Like I think that it's not as individualized as Meta says it is, even if you are paying for ads, you know? So that's why I was like, oh, Sprout's pretty good with what it gives me.
Yeah, I noticed that Meltwater has conversational insights. So they have an AI integration. So once you add once you set up your account, you can ask questions based on the data that you have related to social listening. So I noticed this while I did some research for Social Insider, and I noticed that they had this feature, which is kind of the future that I would like to see. So I want to see not quite a dashboard with matrix. I would like to see the insights that come out from that data. I would like to understand the sentiment analysis without doing the manual work, and I would like to ask questions based on that data, ask specific questions like you said, Gemma, give me a comparison of engagement between these specific time periods and not what you are showing in the dashboard. And then if I want to dive in, and I can go to the to some stats to validate the data, and then to write down a report, customize a report based on what I have in the dashboard. So I think this is the future that I would like to see with the data. So I think the final question here is: do you think that AI will replace analyst work or give us empower to do more strategic work? How do you see in the future?
So I went to the Meltwater conference earlier this year, and I just wanted to say they are launching a whole new scope of AI tools for their clients, and they are partnering with Microsoft Copilot to do this as well. So that whole thing that you're looking into with Meltwater, they are on the path to becoming the social analyzing tool. A lot of colleges and universities use them to analyze their audiences and prospective audiences, and do that whole ecosystem. So I wanted to add that in there.
Yeah. And it's a powerful feature to have the power to add questions and conversation with AI based on the data that you have on the dashboard. Imagine a world when that tool have your industry and you add the competitors and can answer to questions like trends, question like what were the trends for last year, so I can map the calendar for the next year based on what data I have from the industry. So on the industry level. So the future looks bright in terms of how AI can empower us as data analysts. I think it will be important to train and to make sure that the data is accurate. So the analyst work maybe will move from make sure that the data is accurate and make sure you have a backup or you have some checkers to gain the confidence that you need in the data that you want to present.
The output's going to be as good as the input, right? So whatever you feed it is going to be key in what you get back. And I hope, like I said before, that it'll free us to do more of the interesting strategic work. And yeah, just like speed those processes up.
Yeah. So thank you so much for this lovely conversation about AI social media analysis and social media analytics, or how we discussed about how we can present data to the upper management, how can we focus on the metrics that matters to that business overall, how can we present the data in their language, and to bring more context when we put the data in our reports, and about the future of AI analytics, what next, and how can we prepare for that. Thank you so much, Malena, Remi, and Gemma, for being with me for this live session. And thank you everyone for listening us and staying with us until the end. So
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was great hearing everybody's viewpoints.
Yeah. Your LinkedIn profiles will be added in the description on our website. You can follow them on LinkedIn. They are pretty active there, and you can learn from their experience, as I learn every time. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Stay connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah.